So there's been a lot of back and forth. Grush accused you of getting these things leaked by the intelligence community. You revealed it came from the Freedom of Information Act. You did a Twitter space last night. You indicated you were tipped off by this. So were you tipped off by members of the intelligence community?
It was both the Defense Department. I mean, again, it's a mosaic. You talk to as many people as you can because you don't want to be dependent on any one individual who might have a grudge or whatever it is. But yes, I did talk to both DOD people and intelligence people.
So in terms of the substance of the tip here, the accusation, I mean, aren't they fundamentally correct that, like, you are publishing dirt that was tipped to you by intelligence community?
Well, the thing is, when I put out my call for tips, I said, if you have anything positive or negative,
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, like, I don't want to, he's a human being. To be candid with you guys so people can account for where I'm coming from, I don't believe in the UFO stuff. I think he's incorrect about it. However, I don't want to just punch at him. I would have included anything positive that I had gotten. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have, redeeming qualities. Everybody does, even me. But I just didn't happen to hear any of that. And so I had to go with what, I was told. And to give you guys a sense, too, I can speak to the characteristics of the sources because I understand why people are concerned about that because most of the reporting that you read is planted. When you go to the New York Times, most of those stories were planted by committee chairs, by the White House, whatever it is. That's not how I roll. I know I tend to talk to mid-level people, people kind of like Grush, GS-14s, GS-15s, people who are experienced but didn't quite have the political chops generally to make it to the top. So those are the types of people that I was talking to. Just full disclosure, if you want to ask anything else about sourcing, I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, basically you're being accused of, like, this is a smear job. You're trying to undermine his credibility. What did you see as the value of this information? Do you think that the fact that he has a PTSD diagnosis makes him more likely to lie, make things up, and less credible in general?
No, absolutely not PTSD. But, in the police reports, his wife called him an alcoholic and said that this happened repeatedly. That, I think, is a concern. I think that if someone's an alcoholic, yeah, that should be factored into your assessment of what their credibility is. But
but if it's alcohol related to PTSD, I mean, let's be serious. I mean, he in sworn testimony, he admits he had a problem with PTSD. He says it was, I mean, I'm assuming is related to these alcoholic incidents. He got treatment per your own reporting. And all of the incidents he's now testified to, sworn testimony as well as a whistleblower, is post-treatment. So I'm just trying to understand, like, what is the value of this information being put forward? And to be clear, you didn't do anything wrong. You're doing your job. We get crazy tips from people all the time here. So I have no issue with the Freedom of Information Act, even if you did report it, even if you did get a tip from the intel community. I guess it comes down to, like, the framing and the substance of, like, what are we supposed to do with this information?
Well, I included in the story an example of the dozens of White House staffers who had their clearances revoked for smoking weed, including in states where it was legal.
Right.
Places where it's legal. So, like, this is part of the clearance process. And so, again, this whole focus on PTSD, and if it makes him not credible, that was never something I said. That was a focus that he made trying to get ahead of the story in the statement that he put out. My interest was always the alcoholism. And, I mean, I guess I feel as though there's some kind of grandstanding around this stuff, because the reality is, if you're going to say, get a medical procedure, go see a surgeon, you find out he's an alcoholic, that's probably going to factor in your deciding somewhat, right?
Right. Well, I mean, is he an active alcoholic? Do you know that?
We know that from the reports his wife said he was.
Okay, in 2018.
Yes.
But we don't know anything since then.
No.
Right.
So